Beyond staple meme stocks like GameStop and NVIDIA, the apes and degenerates on WallStreetBets are always on the hunt for the next multi-bagger. From one user who made $19,000 in 3 minutes, to one bowing down in admiration to ASTS CEO Abel Avellan for granting him tendies, to another who pocketed $250,000 in just 2 days, let's take a look at the hot stocks that WallStreetBets users are getting filthy rich on this summer. Remember that this is not financial advice. I'm literally just a random guy filming in his underwear in his grandma's spare bedroom, but considering you clicked on a video with WallStreetBets in the title, you probably don't even care. Let's get started. We'll start out with a bang. Fabulous Language 6216 joined Reddit over 2 years ago, but he stuck to lurking and commenting on WallStreetBets for that period of time. Fast forward to June 2025, and he finally gets some skin in the game, betting a few $1,000s on puts with a $55 and a $50 strike price on HIMS, just 2 weeks to expiration. With HIMS priced in the low 60s and a relatively hot stock, the bet would seem ludicrous to most at first, but Fabulous Language got the last laugh in as his puts printed him tendies upon the bad news that HIMS and hers were breaking up with Novo Nordisk. The stock alone dropped 30% from all-time highs, but Fabulous Language's options with 100 times leverage skyrocketed from just a couple $1,000s all the way to $262K. You know you're doing it right when WallStreetBets accuses you of insider trading or performing indecent acts behind the Wendy's dumpster to acquire it. To stick with the FOMO-inducing stories, we're now going to meet xyphrrrrr, a Redditor who's had a degenerate bent since at least 2015 when he started posting DDs on WallStreetBets, questions about Ethereum, and memes about Bitcoin. He's been a pretty consistent poster in regard despite being slightly less active in the last few years. But all of that changed this past week when he threw $5,100 into circle calls with a $155 strike price expiring on July 18th. He purchased the options on June 16th, so he essentially needed Circle to rise to $172 or higher by July 18th to break even on his positions. But forget about breaking even. When Circle soared to $200 and then $250, xyphrrrrr recovered his initial house money of $5K and seems to be letting the rest ride. With his calls already in the money by far, xyphrrrr played this perfectly, getting out his initial investment and now leaving his other calls to potentially moon. Again, WallStreetBets seems less excited for him and more seething with FOMO. How do you find out about a play like this? Now let's take a look at some more gains made by Abject Dream 3617, a law student from Texas who's gone all in on Baron Coin, poker, and now ASTS. Doing a little math, seeing the 66% gain on the $47 price in his screenshot, Abject Dream averaged in just around $28 on ASTS and rode the train all the way up to the 40s and now 50s, sitting on just around $60,000 in unrealized gains at the time of his screenshot and probably more now. At this rate, he might not even need to pursue law school after all. The funniest part of this whole post was the response from Frosty765, encouraging him to short the stock now, and then the prompt response from supposed auto-moderator bot. How about you eat my ass? Also in the initial screenshot, gotta love the diversity here with the 4 shares of HIMS just in case ASTS returns from the moon to the shitter. Sticking with the ASTS hype, let's take a look at Natural Bag 3519. Pretty retarded if you ask me. This guy bought Farm MI in 2021, Clove in 2021, and then BRLT in 2022. He basically makes Jim Cramer look like Warren Buffett. So if you've got a decent head on your shoulders and you're starting to see this guy hyping around ASTS in late 2024, you probably take it as a red flag to get the hell away from that stock. Surprisingly though, a broken clock is right twice a day. Natural Bag's initial $6,000 investment in ASTS calls expiring on June 20th, which were purchased in April by the way, when the stock was near but not quite in the money, literally mooned from $6,000 to $56,000 in market value and now way in the money as well, by his screenshot on June 19th. He'd also purchased 10 contracts of $35 calls, so when he purchased them, they were so far out of the money, but they were also a lot cheaper, and that $1,300 initial investment, really a gamble, grew to nearly $9,000 at the time of his screenshot, and based on how ASTS is continuing to rocket, these calls probably grew another 20 to 40% since. I think Emilio Molestevez speaks for all of us when he says, "Love that purchase date, brother. Big balls deserve to be rewarded. Well done." I look forward to seeing Natural Bag's future investments, but for now it seems like he's going to sell a few of the $25 calls as well, and then exercise the rest. So he's basically making sure Theta no longer works against him, and lowering his leverage, enjoying the ride now with shares. Aptly named Reddit user Roll the Dice, or Efficient Potential 88, also made some nice tendies on Circle. What I found funny about this guy is he almost definitely joined Reddit for WallStreetBets on January 28th, 2021, right at the peak hype of the GameStop miracle. But he only posted once about the Wings of Fire novel series before going dormant for 4 whole years. It was totally worth the wait though. Roll the Dice swiftly entered and exited like a Navy SEALs operation, swiping a nice profit in the process. Buying at market open, Roll the Dice bought 3 contracts of Circle calls expiring August 1st with a $160 strike price on June 18th. He bought just in time as the stock rose 33% overnight and his options jumped 133%. Knowing it was time to take the profits, he sold for nearly $17,000, making a close to 5 figures profit on his initial investment of $7,200. Some genius, not financial advice here from basic difficulty 1 to 9. Circle is just proof that buying the most regarded thing is always the right play in today's markets. And of course, I found the user who didn't profit off of Circle's IPO and is really salty about it, just like me. SafePiano6677 says, "I'm sick of Circle. Who the fuck is buying this thing 8x its IPO price? If this stock doesn't crash and burn, I'll be pissed." Okay, buddy, you sound pretty pissed as it is. JustCan6425 is a Reddit user who seems really well diversified, but not in his portfolio, more in his interests and hobbies. It's reflected in his Reddit history account. I do think it's hilarious that just yesterday he asked if Dating Zest was the best option for a temp phone number for Hinge. Someone's trying to work around the rules. Been there before, my friend. From posts around iOS, Equinox gyms, note-taking, men's fashion, Miami, GoPro cameras, dentistry, houseplants, counting calories, and even learning a new language. JustCan6425's most frequented forum was unsurprisingly our beloved WallStreetBets. JustCan6425 purchased 3 contracts of $120 strike price calls on June 9th at a cost of roughly $10,000 to him. Expiring in October though, he had plenty of time before Theta eroded his position. He didn't even need the time though. Just a couple of weeks into his purchase, Circle soared over 73% and his options nearly tripled to 26K. I'm not sure why he said he should have just bought the dreaded shares, because with a 175% gain, he outperformed shares by nearly double. Now he could always sell the options and roll into shares if he wanted to. Some speculated that maybe Circle's just a rug pull with a 1000+ PE ratio and now it's time to short. But it was Phoenix's comment that hit my FOMO right on the head. My only regret is not mortgaging my house to claim more shares into the Robinhood IPO at $30 a share. Speaking of selling all of one's belongings to YOLO into a volatile stock, Reddit user Yosef Ardi took on 2 huge risks at the same time. One was starting a dropshipping business, which is super 2018-2019 vibes by the way, and the second was selling his entire portfolio worth roughly $14,000 and buying 616 shares of ASTS. So far, he's at $28,000, and time will tell whether he hits the moon or comes back to Earth. Alex Bananas pointed out that that's the yearly salary of most Italians, which was the language Yosef used in his post. Yosef responded that he was only 23, to which Is My Alt account responded, "Good for you, mate. Now fuck off." If you're enjoying this content so far, definitely hit like and subscribe. It wasn't all straight up gains for WallStreetBets users though. Some of us had to hold in the red before receiving our tendies. That's exactly what happened to Cypher, a huge Lakers and NBA fan. That's what he experienced when he got absolutely demolished by SBX calls. Devastated, he humbly approached Circle CEO Jeremy Allaire, begging for mercy. He spent the next 2 hours scalping Circle with his remaining $7,500. Remember that he started with 12K, and somehow he managed by the end of the day to get back up to 12.8K. This was honestly a classic revenge trade, and it also flagged him for being a pattern day trader, but he claims that it was worth it. His scalp strategy was hilarious though. He only bought 0 data expiration calls, and I guess promptly sold them within minutes. I can't help but wonder how he would have performed if he just bought and held calls. OP's answer to this was that he was trying to time intraday volatility, guaranteeing small profits along the way, and in a roundabout way, avoid FOMO and emotional investing by just getting in and out quick as a scalper. Imagine having to take all of this to your accountant at the end of the year. User Solariac is now bullish on Robinhood calls because they're raking in fees from retards like this guy. Staying on the Circle train for more gains, No Amphibian 9546 is a Reddit user who's degened for Doge, NOK, Spy Weeklies, and NVIDIA before it was cool. On June 17th, Amphibian put down $500 on Circle calls expiring on June 20th with a strike price of $200. With Circle being priced at $150, this was an absolutely retarded trade. Unless you had insider info, your break even would be so ludicrously out of the money it's not even funny. No Amphibian started to feel the pain as the options dropped in nearly 50% with just 2 minutes, but he didn't just hold, no, he doubled down and averaged down in price on his position, adding another $600 to his position with 6 more contracts. Again, he needed a massive move in this stock or he was screwed. Fast forward just one day to June 18th, and somehow No Amphibian's prayers to Jeremy Allaire were answered. He sold 5 of the contracts for $1,200 as Circle jumped up to nearly $200 right at the money. Now playing with house money alone, No Amphibian decided to hold just another day, well, another market day. Juneteenth, the market was closed. It's definitely a good thing that he held. The remaining 4 contracts were now worth $8,400. This is one of those trades that, while I'm happy for the guy, I also consider incredibly lucky, and I have a feeling he will be on the lost porn side of this same subreddit soon enough. There was one Reddit user, however, retarded enough to throw money against the current instead of swimming with the trend. That user is glumwish5208, a computer science major who ironically sought an internship with Goldman Sachs back in 2021. On June 13th, Glum bought 4 contracts of Circle puts ranging from $110 to $120 in strike price, so already out of the money as the overall sentiment was bullish on the stock. He poured around $7,200 into the puts and came back frustrated on June 23rd to exclaim that Circle needs to hesitate. His puts were now worth only $2K, far out of the money, and being eaten daily by Theta Gang with just 3 more weeks to expiration. WallStreetBets did not hold back on this guy, and for good reason. I think the lesson here is that if a stock is hot, you're usually going to pay greatly for YOLOing against the trend, unless of course you happen to have puts on the right underlying at an incredibly lucky time, like last month with the whole United Healthcare saga or last week with HIMS. Another case study on WallStreetBets to look at today. To be honest, this isn't really a gain or a loss, it's just a break even with a ton of retarded positions. Meet SalemKinkTrials, a hardware enthusiast who also happens to have chronic cholecystitis. I'm sorry to hear about that, bro. Get well soon. Anyways, this guy decided to load up on calls on GSAT, AMD, NVDA, UNH, AMD, Micron Technology, all at the same time. His combined loss, at least from the screenshot, is roughly $11,000. However, the only thing keeping him afloat was his ASTS leaps. They were all very far in the money, with over 6 months to expiration, and they were appreciating at rocket speed. The lesson that he says he learned: watch 1 to 3 stocks very closely and gamble on those, instead of pretending you know shit about other tickers. In other words, be less and not more diversified. Somewhere a boglehead is SMHing his head. Sarcastically, Reddit Nosedive said, go ahead and do that, and then come back to us with the ASTS canceled my ASTS gains post one day. Time will tell what happens to Salem's holdings. The Viable Redditor is a frequenter not just of WallStreetBets, but Indian street bets, Indian girls on Tinder, Cars India, Fitness India, and even cats. On June 24th, they took to WallStreetBets to say that they, quote, got wrecked yesterday with HIMS, but the numbers weren't adding up. It shows that their 3 options were now worth $9,000, up from $2,000 with 7K in gains, and that their 1,600 shares were worth $80,000. Now sure, that's less than it was $105,000 yesterday, but still much higher than the initial $64,000 deposited with an average price of $39. Look closer and you can even see that this $80,000 position is not even 12% of their portfolio. So their total portfolio is worth roughly $700,000 to $800,000. In short, they're gonna be okay. The lost porn flare here is pretty much just clickbait. Satorius96 asks, do you even know what loss even means? The even there being added twice for emphasis. Fellow degen Aha Water was quick to point out that Viable Redditor was complaining about a problem that was not even real. Just a few hours later, Viable Redditor popped into WallStreetBets again to show a larger position that they held in hood shares and positions, the 2,700 shares growing from 80K to 220K, and the options growing from 20K to 50K. So Viable, I know you had some losses, but you're doing a hell of a lot better than just about anyone else out there not named Sir Jack-a-lot. And for our final trade, this one gave me some real FOMO. The gain number is nice, but it's not even the gain number that's magnificent, it's just the speed with which the tendies were acquired that makes me absolutely salivate. Meet Kona Rin, also called webhawaii, a trader with a supposed 100% win rate trading SPY options. There's not a whole lot to the play that they made here, it's just really nice to look at. Kona Rin bought roughly 11 to 12K in HIMS puts with a strike price of $48, expiring on June 27th. So when the bad news that Novo Nordisk was essentially breaking up with HIMS products, when that hit the market, the exact price that the stock dropped to was $48. It's not clear whether Kona Rin pulled out or held, or whether the put options continued to print more money, or if Theta started to have its way. But either way, WallStreetBets accused Kona of having such good timing that he was essentially an inside trader. His response was, "Nope, I wish. Y'all need to be dialed in and have those Twitter and Reddit notifications on. I found out of the Novo Nordisk cancellation when everyone else found out." The reason that these gains weren't any bigger was because Konaran actually bought the puts right at market open on Monday morning as opposed to buying them on Friday night, but that didn't stop users from accusing him of insider trading or calling him Nancy Pelosi, the Wolf of Washington, D.C. At the end of the day, I don't think this was insider trading. It would have happened way earlier and been a way bigger profit, but I do give props to OP for the calculated timing and execution on this W. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Like and subscribe for more Gigastonks content like this, and I'll see you soon.